Hello and welcome to CBSE with Sudhir. यहाँ हम पढ़ेंगे Chapter 1 of CBSE Class 6 in this video, which is to do with geography. I hope you have already seen the introduction to your new social science textbook, Exploring Society, India and Beyond, in which we spoke about why social science and what all you will study as part of this textbook, which includes geography, history, civics, cultural history, and economics. Okay. So this chapter is called Locating Places on the Earth, यानी कि पृथ्वी पर जगहों को किस तरह से आप लोकेट करते हैं कि कहां पर क्या है उसके बारे में. So it's a fascinating chapter. मजा आएगा. Let's look at this particular quote by Aryabhatta, said about 500 years in the 500 CE, that is post Christ. The globe of the earth stands in space made up of water, earth, fire and water, and it's spherical in shape. It is surrounded by all creatures, terrestrial as well as aquatic. So you have all forms of life in the water, on land, in the air, and then it has all these elements of earth, fire, water and air. Okay, so that's what makes earth so fascinating, makes the globe so fascinating. Now let's move ahead. These are the different components that we will be studying as part of this particular chapter. Now it asks you to imagine कि आप एक नए शहर में जा रहे हैं. Okay, you're going to a new place. How would you know? Okay, now you have GPS, so the person will keep telling you turn right, turn left, 200 meters, turn left, take a sharp U-turn, all those things are said. But suppose you do not have that. Okay, how do you think? You will keep asking people where do I get to that particular colony? Okay, we were told it's near this particular showroom, right? Those are the indicators. So imagine that you're visiting a city for the first time. How would you find the places you want to visit? You might ask a local person for help, or you might look at a map of the city. That's the usual thing. You go to a new place. Let's say I'm going to Patna for the first time. So I buy a map of Patna. Okay, and I try to locate as per the map. So all that is there. So let's now play a game. Examine the map of the small city in figure 1. I will just scroll it up a little. And you have got off at the railway station and you want to visit the bank marked in the map. So how would you go? So you get off at the railway station here, right? Railway station is here and you need to go to the bank which is here, quite a distance away. So what do? You get off at the railway station. If you take this road, you will get to the hospital, and from there you will go like this. You will pass the Nagar Panchayat building, and from there you come like this and come to the bank. So this seems to be the shortest route. There is another route. If you go from the back side of the railway station, you go from here, you go to some residential apartments, but that is not leading to the bank because there is no road from this particular garden to the bank. So this route is a no-no. You should not take this route. There is a third route which comes like this. Instead of turning towards the hospital, you go like this, pass the school. Let's assume you have some work at the school. You have to drop someone at school and then go to the bank. Then you will come like this. You will pass the market and from here you will go to the bank. But this route is obviously more circuitous. ये ज्यादा लंबा रास्ता है, right? तो अगर आपको जितना जल्दी पहुंचना हो, अगर आप एक ऑटो वाले को बोलेंगे तो वो आपको इस तरह से इस रूट से ले जाएगा, right? So this is how we essentially navigate when we are going to a particular place, when we get off at the railway station in a new city or town, right? Now, so a map is like a treasure guide, कि ये बताता है कि कैसे जाना है. सांप सीढ़ी का खेल खेलते हैं ना, snakes and ladders. So you keep putting, you put the dice, you get 5, you move from 12 to 7. 18 pe there may be a snake. So you see, oh, मैं बच गया. You put 1, you will be consumed by the snake and you will go down to 3, right? So that's how it happens. That's also some kind of a route map in order to reach 100, right? So 100 is your destination, right? But you need to ensure that you're going on the right route. That's very important. So a map, so when you're going on a map, आजकल मैप में दिखाता है ना रेड निशान, यानी कि बहुत ट्रैफिक है. So avoid this route. You take a slightly different route which may be a little longer, but it will reach you faster because there is no traffic congestion on that route, right? So that's why maps become so important. So a map is like a treasure guide. it is taking you from destination A, from place A to your destination B. It shows you where things are and how to get to them. Notice the 4 arrows at the top right corner of the map. We will soon see how they point to some specific direction. So now you see, so you see the map here. Every map will put north, west, east and south direction, so that you know, okay, I'm moving in the eastern direction. So from railway station, he's moving towards the east, right? So that's what, in the east, that is towards the east he's moving, right? So that is something which you need to know. Now on the map, mark the hospital. These are things you can do. What is the meaning of the blue colored areas? What are the blue colored areas? Let's go back and see. Which are the blue colored areas? The blue colored areas are the some kind of river bodies. You know, there is water kind of sign there. We will discuss more signs a little after. Okay. What is the name of the blue color areas which is farther away from the railway station, the school, the Nagar Panchayat or the public garden? The public garden is the farthest from the railway station. At least let's cross check. Yeah, the public garden is the farthest away from it. Okay, bank ke bhi baad mein aata hai. Now, you have to do this class activity, so that I will leave it to you. Now, a map and its components. Map mein hota kya hai? From this simple example, we understand that a map is a representation or a drawing of some area. It may be a small area, it could be a village, a town, a bigger area. I don't know whether you are fascinated, but I find all this extremely fascinating even at my age, right? So I would assume that, you know, कि ये सब नया कुछ सीखने को आपको मिल रहा है. दूसरी एक और बात, and this is, I'm telling this to the parents who are listening to this video. Please ensure that your child has a map of India, at least if not the world. When I was a child, I used to have a globe, a world map and an India map all in my thing. उससे फायदा क्या होगा? उससे फायदा ये होता है कि, you know, whenever your child is free, he or she can be encouraged to keep looking at the map. Let's say the map of, let's say, Tamil Nadu. You will be able to see that, okay, Chennai comes here, Vellore comes here. I go a little down, Kanchipuram comes there. Kanyakumari, the southernmost tip of India, that's here. And then a little above is Madurai, then Shivaganga, you know, Rameshwaram, which is close to Kanyakumari, I mean, to the southern coast. So from Madurai, about 1.5 to 2 hours away. So you get an idea about where different places are. Oh, Coimbatore is on the western side. Salem, Erode, Coimbatore, Pollachi is all on the western side, almost bordering Kerala, right? So you get an idea when you keep seeing those kind of things, your knowledge of geography. For instance, let me just show it to you. Right behind the camera is where I have, and this is something, and it's not even very expensive. It is, this map is just 110 rupees. Okay, so this is a map of India, a very detailed political map wherein I can see, I want to see Madhya Pradesh or I want to see Chhattisgarh. So I know, okay, where Sukma is, where Kunta is, where Raipur is, right? Where Bilaspur is, where Jagdalpur is. So I will be able to know all these things. I'm able to tell all these things because I've traveled extensively through all these areas. So that's why I'm able to reel out the names in a flourish. So you don't have to get nervous about this. But if you keep looking at the map, you will get an idea and you will get better. So this is something which I would tell all parents to do. Invest in an India map, invest in a world map. Put it on the wall. Anytime your child is free, feeling bored, even if it's for 5 minutes, let him or her look at the map. Okay, so that's what it does. An atlas is a book or collection of maps. I used to have an atlas also. So what I would do is to just look at any country. Let's say a country like South Africa. So you look at South Africa, okay, oh, Cape Town is here, Johannesburg is here, you know. So you get an idea about the topography of this country. You get an idea about which are the important cities in that country. It helps. It widens your horizons. And if you are, suppose you meet someone from South Africa, when you grow up, you know, you can engage in some kind of an introductory talk, chat with that person. You would not feel, South Africa, where is that? You don't have to wonder like that. So right at this age, lay the foundation for what you could be in the future. Very important. Okay, now you will find that there are different kinds of map. Now this is the India political map that I just now showed you. You have physical maps, which mainly show some natural features such as mountains, hills, rivers, oceans, etc. So those are the physical maps. Okay, they will just show you yahan se Narmada aati hai, yahan se Mahanadi hai, this is how the Ganga flows, this is how the Yamuna flows, this is how the Krishna, the Godavari, Kaveri, etc. flow. Then there are the political maps, like the one that I showed you just now, which shows details of countries or state boundaries, cities, etc. A map of India with all its states, union territories, and their capitals, like what I showed you. This is called the political map. Okay. Then the third one is what is called the thematic maps, which focus on one particular theme. Specific kind of information is what, and there are maps of that kind again, which we will see. In addition, there are three important components of maps: distance, place A to place B; direction, in what direction. If you have to move from, let's say, Bhopal to Kolkata, what direction will you move in? You will move in the easterly direction. Okay, because Kolkata is towards the eastern part of India. If you have to move from, let's say, Ranchi to Jaipur, you will move in the western direction. Ranchi is in Jharkhand, Jaipur is in Rajasthan. And symbols. So you have already experienced the first two while navigating the map in 1.1, the symbols, etc. Let's now define these things a little more precisely. Now we come to something which is called the scale of the map. Okay, the scale of the map. The scale of the map. What exactly do we mean by that? Now what happens is that obviously jagah badi hai. So how do you kind of map them on a smaller map? So each centimeter, listen to this carefully, each centimeter on the map represents a certain distance in reality on the ground. Let's suppose अगर आपको अपने ग्राउंड का, प्लेग्राउंड का मैप बनाना है in the context of the school or in the context of the neighborhood in which you live in. So let's suppose it is 500 meters. We say that one scale, the scale is 1 centimeters equals 500 meters. Now turn to the map of India in 5.2 in chapter 5, that is the next chapter. The scale is represented in the bottom corner by a ruler with 500 written above its length and kilometer on the side. It simply means that the ruler which measures 2.5 centimeters in the printed map equals 500 kilometers on the ground. So in the side, after you finish the map, you will say that okay, 1 centimeter equals, let's say, 100 meters, whatever be the scale. So us hisab se, so that they know that okay, this would be the real size on the ground, but this is how it has been represented on the map. You understood? So you are making a scale that this represents this much. So let's say, for an example, you make a person ka contest. Now this particular person, he is representing 100 people in that particular colony, right? So it represents that there is human habitation. So it's just a way of representing something. Similarly, so the actual distance between 2 points represented on the map depends on the scale that the map is using. So the scale can differ. You may say 1 centimeter equals 100 meters. Another student may write 1 centimeter equals 200 meters, right? So it depends on the scale. उस हिसाब से आप draw करेंगे, right? So let's move ahead to kind of explain this a little more. So draw a simple map. So you need to do this exercise. Draw a simple map of the playground of the school. Let's assume that it is a rectangle. Okay, so it is a rectangle 40 meters in length and 30 meters in width. This is the length of your football ground, let's say, at your school. So draw it precisely with your ruler. 1 centimeter equals 10 meters. So it is a rectangle. So which means it is like this. Okay, so 4 meters in length. यहाँ पर क्या लिखा है? 10 meters equals 1 centimeter. So 40 meters का मतलब 4 centimeters. So this length will be 4 centimeters. This is 30 meters. So which means 3 centimeters here. Okay. So 3 by 7 is what? 3 by 4 is 4 by 3 is how you are making this particular playground. Now measure the diagonal of the rectangle. How many centimeters do you get? Using the scale, calculate the real length of the playground's diagonal in meters. So this is an exercise you need to do. Diagonal means like this. So you need to measure ये कितना आता है. ये कितना आता है, उसके हिसाब से यू विल हैव टू मेजर इस पूरे इसका, आई मीन नॉट द एरिया, यू आर हैव टू मेजर उसके हिसाब से यूजिंग दिस पर्टिकुलर conversion, how many meters will be the diagonal. That is, if you are standing at the southwest corner of the playground to go to the northeastern corner of the playground, ye kitna distance you will have to travel. If 40 meters is the length of the playground and 30 meters is the width of the playground, right? This is an exercise that you need to do. So let us return to the 4 arrows after this. At the top right, what I just now said, why did I call it northeast? Because it is in the northeast corner, right? Similarly, southwest, west, niche south, that becomes the southwest corner. So they point to 4 directions which are north at the top and moving clockwise. North is 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock is east, right? 6 o'clock will be south and 9 o'clock will be western direction. That's how you need to know. So if you're talking about 10:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock, you're talking about it being in the northwesterly direction. समझ में आ गया ना? Right. So if you think in terms of the clock, it becomes easier for you to register. So what happens out here is that these are known as the cardinal directions. The north, west, east and south. These are, आपको मालूम है ना न्यूज शब्द कहां से आता है? NEWS, news, which means collecting information from all parts of the world. That is called news. I'm just giving you a GK ka point. So these are known as cardinal directions, also cardinal points. Other than these intermediate directions, what I just now said, southeast, southwest, northwest, northeast, these are also there, known as intermediate directions. These are cardinal directions, the main one. The other ones are intermediate directions. So if you get a question, southeast, what is it? Is it a cardinal direction or an intermediate direction? It's an intermediate direction. Intermediate matlab beech mein. Okay. Most maps simply have an arrow marked with the letter N which points to the north direction. So agar north is tarah se hai, aapko pata chal jayega east yahan pe hoga, west yahan pe hoga, south niche ki taraf hoga. So from the map, go back to the map and do this exercise. Which is correct and which is not correct. The market is north of the hospital. मेरे को पूरा पीछे जाना पड़ेगा. Museum is southeast of the bank. You please look at the map and work out कि कौन सा किस direction में है from the main thing, from the bank. Bank के हिसाब से museum southeast में है. Museum south में यहाँ था ना, तो ठीक है. Bank यहाँ पे था, museum southeast. Yeah, southeast is the correct one. So similarly, you need to work out these 4 directions. This is an exercise I want you to do and write the answers in the comment section. I will be waiting for that. Okay. So that is that. Now we come to symbols. Symbols are another important component now of maps. Our map has small drawings of actual buildings and a few other elements. See, I have got here, I've got something more for you. Okay. Which is going beyond the book. So the way I will explain to you will be absolutely in depth. कि आपको कुछ भी डाउट इस वीडियो के बाद इस चैप्टर को लेकर नहीं होगा. दैट इज माय ओनली मोटिव. दैट्स द ओनली इंटेंशन एंड एम. सो जस्ट कीप वेटिंग फॉर दैट. ओके. नाउ देयर वोंट बी एनफ स्पेस ऑन द मैप. Our map has small drawings of actual buildings and a few other elements, but there will not be enough space in the map of a large city or a country to draw. So instead a symbol is used. So अभी हमारे मैप में हमने स्कूल, लेक, म्यूजियम, गार्डन सबको दिखाया, लेकिन हर मैप में इतनी जगह नहीं होगी. So what do you do? So what each of these kind of places have something which is called as a symbol. Okay, we will study the symbols and you need to remember these symbols because they can be asked in the examination. So these are symbols for different kinds of buildings. Okay, so that is again important. So we need to know कि ये कौन से symbols हैं for specific. For example, a railway station, symbols for different kinds of buildings. A railway station को आप किस तरह से denote करेंगे? Mainly the railway line. A school, a post office, for roads, railway lines, and natural elements like river, pond, forest, etc. So that's something. So you need to know. So the Survey of India, which is the organization which takes care about maps of India, with all the features, Survey of India. This is the organization. So आप इस बात का भी ध्यान रखिए. Survey of India is what is in charge of that. It's a government body which has fixed a set of symbols for the maps of India. Okay, so that is what we need to now look at. ये है. Okay, now this is the important part. I hope you can see this clearly on the screen. Great. Now, a railway line. Railway line, I don't know if you know this, railway line are of mainly three kinds. Broad gauge, which is what most of India's thing is, and then there is something called meter gauge. Okay, ये थोड़े से हिल स्टेशंस वगैरह में इसका इस्तेमाल होता है, उसका विड्थ कम होता है, but otherwise ज्यादातर your Rajdhani, Shatabdi, Vande Bharat, all the other trains will all run on broad gauge. Okay, it basically talks about the width between the two railway lines. So a broad gauge is denoted like this. Broad gauge is, this is the symbol for broad gauge. So please remember this. अगर आपसे पूछा जाए either to draw broad gauge का symbol, और अगर आपसे broad gauge का symbol डाल के पूछा जाए कि बताओ ये कौन सा है, आपको मालूम होना चाहिए. ब्रॉड गेज और मीटर गेज में कंफ्यूज मत होइए. मीटर गेज में it will be this kind of almost, you will have teeth of from going from the either side. This is much more sophisticated. This is how a railway station is denoted. That is, there is a broad gauge line going, which as I said, almost 96 to 97% is broad gauge. So you will have this kind of lines going, and this is how the railway station will be denoted with the red color. So you could carry a red pencil, color pencil, and draw it like that. So this is how the railway station is drawn. याद आ गया? समझ में आ गया? Now let's come to roads. Roads are also two kinds. एक तो जिसपे की तार लगी हो, which is a metal road. The one which is not a metal road, गांव वगैरह में जाएंगे आपको कच्ची रोड मिलेगी, कच्ची सड़क मिलेगी, which is known as the unmetalled road. So this is how a metal road will be shown. This is how an unmetalled road. So it will be with gaps, which is to show. And if you see this sign on the map, if you are going to some rural area in India, and if you see this sign when you are seeing the map, then you realize, oh, यहाँ पे सड़क नहीं है, which means we will not be able to go at a high speed. We will be able to go only at 20-25 kilometers per hour. So it will take us more time to cover the distance of 5 kilometers. So for about 5 kilometers, it is unmetalled road. Uske baad we are coming back to metal road, so then we can go faster. So this is how maps help you plan a journey better. You will be able to say that, okay, this much time, I will take little more time to travel those 5 kilometers because it's an unmetalled road. And then I can travel faster because we are back to the metal road, right? So you will be able to tell the person that, okay, I will not be there by 12 o'clock. It will take me about 1:30 by the time I reach that place, because you have based it on the information of the kind of road surface that you have between your place and your destination. समझ में आ गया? Then we come to boundary. Boundaries of a country or a state or a district. Okay, district, there are close to about 700 districts in the country. So you have the international boundary is drawn like this, this dot, this dot. Okay, this is how the state boundaries are drawn, right? These have shorter lines, okay, but the same dots are there. These ones have the same length of lines, but there is no dot in between. So this is the state boundary. Let's say the state boundary between Maharashtra and Gujarat, right? Or let's say between Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, right? So you will have these kind of boundaries. If you are talking about within district, like within district, let's say in the state of Kerala, between the districts of Palakkad and Thrissur, which are neighboring districts, or Palakkad and Malappuram, you will have these kind of lines drawn because they are districts. If you are talking of between India and Bangladesh or India and Pakistan, you will have these kind of boundaries drawn. I hope I have made myself very clear. Now let's come to the water bodies. This is how a river is denoted with a slightly wavy kind of pattern and blue color in it. So you can carry your color pencil box. Then you have a well. Well मतलब कुआं जिसके अंदर से पानी निकालते हैं, जिसको कि तमिल में Kanar Suluva. Okay, Kanar Suluva. Yeah. So this is a well. This is a tank, a man-made tank which is made to store water during the rainy season. and it can be used during the summers, right? So this is how a tank is denoted. Then you have the canal. This is how the canal is denoted. That is, the water is flowing like this. We can have the water come like this also as a slight deviation to go into some field or something, right? Canals. So this is how the canal is denoted. Finally, the bridge which is constructed over a river to go from this end of the river to that end of the river. So this is how the bridge is denoted. That is, you make this kind of line and you travel on this bridge. This both sides below is the river, right? So this water bodies one is very important. Please make a note of it. Then you have religious places. This is how a temple is denoted. Denoted church. This is the mosque, and this is the chhatri, which can again be of any kind of religious structure. Basically, chhatri is referring to anything with some kind of a tomb kind of a structure, like this kind of a structure. Then you have things like the post office. You just write PO. You can make denotions, but right now you are just saying PO. Then post and telegraphs, jahan se any kind of communication can be sent. Then the police station, you just write PS. Then there is some kind of a settlement as in where people are living, where there is a small village or any kind of settlement. This is how it's donated. 2 L's, and then you put this kind of 2 boxes. Then this is a graveyard where people are buried. I hope सब याद रहेगा. इसको थोड़ा practice कर लो, आपको आसानी होगी. Then this is how trees are denoted, and this is how grass is denoted. So red, blue, yellow, green. These 3 color pencils you can carry in order to be able to shade it correctly. Now let's come to mapping the earth. Now mapping the earth. See, what happens is that the earth एक्चुअल में तो गोल है, लेकिन जब हम वर्ल्ड मैप की बात करते हैं, वी पुट इट ऑन अ स्ट्रेट सरफेस. नॉर्थ अमेरिका, साउथ अमेरिका, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, अफ्रीका, यूरोप एंड एशिया, राइट? वी पुट इट ऑन द मैप, बट एक्चुअली में देखा जाए तो अर्थ तो गोल है, राइट? सो इट्स नॉट एक्चुअली in a flat kind of thing. Earth's projection in spherical and flat surfaces. So this is how you look at it. And you also comparing a map and a globe, which is why I said in my house, in my home when I was a child, I used to have both the flat map on the wall, plus I also used to have a globe. Okay, so it gave you a good enough idea. So the map is laid out on a flat surface like this, while a globe is illustrated on a spherical surface imitating the curve of the earth. So you have both these ends, the North Pole and the South Pole, and this is how the earth moves, right? So you can get a better idea like that, you know, ki kaise kaise hai. But both this map and the globe represent the surface of the earth. I hope it is clear till here. Okay, I'm not very sure whether it is very clear in terms able to not very clearly. I took it from Google, but this is not very clear. Anyway, let's go back to the text. So the mapping the earth is a little more difficult because our planet is not a flat surface, what I just now told you. Now, we say nearly because it's not a perfect sphere, it is slightly flattened at the poles. So अगर आपसे पूछा जाए कि why do we say that earth is nearly a flat surface, because it's not a perfect sphere or nearly a sphere, it is slightly flattened at the poles. However, in practice, we consider it to be spherical. So this part which has been given in brackets, इसको जरा ध्यान से समझ लेना. Representing a sphere accurately on a flat sheet of paper. Flat sheet of paper is not possible. To understand why peel an orange in such a way that you just have 4 or this thing. So अगर आप एक ऑरेंज को ले लेते हैं, मेरे पास ऑरेंज नहीं है, तो अगर एक बॉल की तरह ले लेते हैं, दिस द स्ट्रेस बॉल, तो इसको अगर हम बोले कि इसके 4 पीसेस में इसको छील दो, जस्ट थिंक ऑफ इट एज एन ऑरेंज, एंड देन इफ यू हैव टू पुट दोस पीसेस टुगेदर टू मेक ए मैप, इट वोंट रियली बी possible. You cannot do it without tearing them at the edges. Now consider a globe which is a sphere on which a map is drawn. This may be a map of the earth, the moon, vagara. This is okay. So this is like, consider a globe. So basically the earth is like this, you know, with the thing on the 2 spheres, the North Pole and the South Pole. But when we are laying it on a map, It's not a perfect sphere also because it's flattened at the two edges. Now you see this is how they do it. Now here we will study the globe representing the Earth's geography. So understanding the coordinates. Now let's come to the more technical part. और इसको जरा ध्यान से पढ़ने की, ध्यान से सुनने की जरूरत है. You imagine a big market in a city or town with neat rows of this thing, all that. So someone tells you, meet me at 6 p.m. at the 7th shop in the 5th row from the entrance. So ये कैसे होगा अगर आप किसी मेले में जाते हैं, कोई दिवाली मेले में जाते हैं. So your friend has told you that I will meet you at the 7th shop in the 5th row from the entrance. So this is how you're entering. Then you move rightwards and you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You reach the 5th row, then you walk inside and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ah, there is my friend at 6 p.m. So your friend has given you very precise direction, just like in an airport when we go. You enter, you are told that, okay, this particular airline counter is in the 3rd row. So you go from 1, 2, 3. No, अगर आपको मालूम नहीं है तो आप फर्स्ट रो में जाके देखेंगे, अरे यहाँ पे तो नहीं है इंडिगो. दूसरे में जाएंगे, अरे यहाँ पे भी नहीं है. थर्ड रो, ओ यहाँ पे है. तो you will be wasting more time. But if you got precise directions that you need to go to the 3rd row, you will go exactly there. So that's how it works. Similarly, chessboard. If any one of you has played chess, okay, so if you see here, the pawn has moved 2 places. So from D2, D is what? A, B, C, D. D, the 2nd row. It has moved now to D4. So that's how you kind of, when someone says, okay, his opening move was from D2 to D4. So that's how you map that, okay, this is how the grandmaster or the international master made his moves on the chessboard. So similarly, the map and the chessboard are very similar in that sense. Now, the system used in these two examples, the Mela and the chessboard, is that what is called as coordinates. What does it mean? Coordinates, the system used in the two examples may be called a system of coordinates. Thanks to these two coordinates, coordinates is when you give how many in which row, in which slot in that particular row. So you are able to accurately map where a particular person or object is. Thanks to their two coordinates, the stationary shop as well as the chess square on the chessboard can be precisely determined. A similar system of coordinates is used in the world of maps to determine the location of any place on a map. Let's see how this system works in the world of maps. Quiz question, मैं जो अभी बताया था, which is the government body which is in charge of making the different kinds of maps of India? Please write the answer in the time of this particular video and write the correct answer. I'll keep asking you questions so that you keep revising it. And what are the 3 different kinds of maps which I told you about? I want you to write that answer also. We'll constantly keep revising. ये नहीं कि यहाँ तक पहुंच गए पुराना भूल गए. No, you have to keep on revising it ताकि आपको constantly याद होता रहे. Okay. Latitudes. Let's return to the globe. Now, अब इसको जरा ध्यान से सुनो. It's easy to identify the North Pole and the South Pole on it. Rotate the globe while it rotates. The fixed points at the top and bottom are called the this thing. So this is the North Pole. This is the South Pole. Okay, and it is moving like this. So this is the North Pole. This is the South Pole. यहाँ तक तो समझ में आ गया ना? North Pole, South Pole. Now, halfway between them is the equator. Note the circle which is marking it. So this line that you see in between is the equator. Now it does not mean that Earth पे actually ये एक red line है. No, it is an imaginary line that has been drawn by people who make these kind of maps in order to understand the surface of the Earth. So that red line, that spot right in the middle, and the line which is going eastward and westward, this is called the equator, which is right at the center of the Earth. Okay, now ये सब इसलिए मैं निकाल के रखा है ताकि आपको समझने में आसानी हो. In the book, I found it a little difficult in comparison. Now, imagine that you are standing on the equator and travel towards one of the 2 poles. That is, if you are standing here, and you decide to move towards the North Pole or the South Pole, let's say South Pole, you start moving down. Okay, how do you realize kitna distance जाने का है? How do you make that out? Okay, so it says that at any point of this travel, you can draw an imaginary line that runs east and west parallel to the equator. Yani ki that when you are moving like that, you can draw lines which are parallel to the equator. Yani ki if this is the line which is there right in the center, this line which is the equator, these lines, whether you're moving towards the North Pole or whether you're moving to the southern part of the globe, these are the lines which are running parallel to it. So what happens? So what happens is that such a line is called a parallel of latitude. Simple. Latitude, okay, earth, equator, uska jo parallel lines hoga, those are known as the latitudes, the parallel of latitude. And it draws a circle around the earth. Of course, the circles will keep getting smaller because the equator, since it's in the middle, will be the longest one, right? So agar ye earth hai, so from here to here, if you, I don't know if you can see the line out here, the portion which is right in the middle, I hope the focus. So the focus, ye wala jo line hai, if you think of this as the equator, and then you make line on top or on bottom, let's say again southern hemisphere mein ja rahe hain, ek niche, those will all be shorter in length, hai na? So it is easy to note on the globe that the largest circle is the equator, while the circles marked by the parallels of latitude grow smaller as we move northward or southward. Now latitudes are expressed in degrees. Okay, by convention the equator is latitude 0. This is known as 0. Upar or niche jayenge to it will keep increasing, while the latitudes of the two poles are 90 degrees. So this is 90 degree, this is also 90 degree. Okay, so from the equator, which is 0, it will keep moving from 0 to 90 degrees. Okay, there is a connection between latitude and climate. Around the equator, the climate is generally hot. It is the hottest. If your country, if your city is on the equator, you will be one of the hottest places on Mother Earth. As you travel away from the equator towards one of the two poles, it will start getting comparatively colder. Okay, because the North Pole and the South Pole are the coldest places. You have the polar bears and the Eskimos in the North Pole. You have Antarctica near the South Pole. So those will be the coldest places, whereas equator is the hottest place. So the climate between equator towards the South Pole or towards the North Pole will comparatively keep getting colder, okay, compared to the equator, comparatively being the keyword. So the climate becomes more moderate or temperate. So आप इस शब्द का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं that it will get more temperate or moderate compared to the equator. Okay, whereas if you move towards the North Pole, the climate gets more cold. ये सब science में पढ़ेंगे. So this is how it is, that this is the North Pole, this is the equator. So you are moving towards it. So these are all the latitudes. ये जो line दिख रहा है ना, blue line, these are all the latitudes which are going there. So इसका degrees कम होता रहेगा. Okay. Now let's come to longitude. Now, if we travel from North Pole to South Pole by the shortest possible line, observe the globe, you will see that instead of passing through Europe and Africa, you could just as well pass through Asia. The distance would be the same, right? अगर आपको ऊपर से नीचे जाना है, तो आप इधर से ट्रैवल करें या इधर से ट्रैवल करें, रास्ता का डिस्टेंस सेम रहेगा, है ना? Now, these lines are known as meridians of longitude. वो था parallel of latitude. These are called as meridians of longitude. Okay, so ये वाले lines are the latitudes. These lines are known as the longitudes. देख लेना कैसे याद रखना है, यहां से ये लंबा longitude. Okay, that's how you need to remember. So they're all half circles running from one pole to the other, from the North Pole to the South Pole. Okay, so these will be in a sense perpendicular to the equator. You will also learn in science. ये सब साइंस में पढ़ लेंगे आगे. Now होता क्या है? Because of the sun, if the sun is in this direction, so this part of the globe it will be daytime, whereas this part it will be nighttime. Which is why when it is daytime in India, in countries in North America, South America, USA, Canada, etc., it is nighttime, right? Because we are many hours ahead of USA or Britain, etc., right? So that's how the time is mentioned, and I will talk about time also. Now, to measure longitude, we need to define a reference point called the prime meridian. It is also known as the Greenwich meridian because in the year 1884, some nations decided that the meridian passing through Greenwich, an area in London in England, okay, would become the international standard for the prime meridian. It is marked as 0 degrees longitude. Okay, so this was decided in the year 1884, prime meridian. Okay, this is an important part. So just as latitude is a measure of the distance from the equator if you travel towards one of the poles, longitude is a measure of the distance from the prime meridian. This definition is important. Isko please yaad rakhna. Latitude, longitude dono ka. Okay, this part is important. Okay, I have marked it with a star. अब अपनी बुक में या नोटबुक में इसको प्लीज नोट कर लीजिए. Longitude 2 is measured in degrees. Westward or eastward, it increases in value from 0 to 180 degrees. Like this, it will keep increasing 0 to 180 degrees. With the letter W or E added, for instance, using round figures, New York's longitude, I will just tell you with the help of an example. New York, which is on the east coast of USA, New York's longitude is 74 degrees west, while Delhi is 77 degrees east and Tokyo is 140 degrees east. ये टोक्यो का 140 डिग्रीज क्यों है? बिकॉज टोक्यो इस तरफ है, दिल्ली बीच में है, न्यूयॉर्क इस तरफ है, which is why it is going on increasing. That is from the prime meridian. Where is it? Yeah. I don't know whether it is clear out here. See, what happens is that I will show you with the earlier map. उसमें दिखा था clearly. Okay, now ये वाला map देखो. This is the prime meridian. If you see this particular map, this is Europe. Okay, it is passing through this place called Greenwich in England. So this is the prime meridian. इसके left hand side पे जो भी है, that will be known as west, will be marked, which is why New York is marked as whatever degrees, 84 or whatever degrees west, whereas this side is going to be marked as east, which is why Delhi is some 77 degrees east and Tokyo is 140 degrees east. So this is the prime meridian, which has been decided, which was decided in 1884, that this will be the line which will be known in marked internationally. Okay, समझ में आ गया ना? So 77 degrees east, 140 degrees, 74 degrees west. So yeah, as you can see on the globe of meridians or longitudes, 180 degrees and 180 degrees east are the same longitudes, है ना? So this longitude is noted as 180 degrees, so you don't put west or east on that. Latitude and longitude together are the two coordinates. So when we're talking about coordinates, latitudes and longitudes, ऊपर से नीचे वाली लाइनें, इस तरफ से इस तरफ वाली लाइनें, right? सभी को latitude और longitude कहते हैं. So with this you will be able to, so if somebody tells you that this is the precise latitude and longitude of a place, you will be able to note, okay, this is the thing for Paris. Okay, this is the latitude and longitude of this particular city. Okay. All these lines together constitute a grid for the globe. They are known as grid lines. क्योंकि ये line वगैरह बना रहेंगे, those are known as grid lines, the latitudes and the longitudes. तो ये तो हो गया. Now let's look at, एक बार फिर से देख लेते हैं. ये हो गया equator yellow line, ये हो गया Greenwich meridian, which is known as the prime meridian, right? So ये पूरा हो गया. Western hemisphere जो मैंने अभी आपको बताया, this side will be the eastern hemisphere, this side is the western hemisphere. That is, you are dividing the globe into two equal parts. That is, ये वाला globe, ये वाला portion western hemisphere, अगर prime meridian यहाँ पे है, ये वाला portion eastern hemisphere. Similarly, northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere को कौन divide करेगा? Equator. That is, ऊपर वाला northern hemisphere, नीचे वाला southern hemisphere. So I hope यहाँ तक I've explained it in great detail. I hope it is clear. Now, this is an information which has been introduced into the books from this year, from the new book. पुरानी book में ये information नहीं थी. Now, the Greenwich Meridian is not the first prime meridian in the world. उससे पहले भी थे. उसमें से एक था इंडिया का खुद का एक प्राइम मेरिडियन. इंडिया हैड अ प्राइम मेरिडियन ऑफ इट्स ओन. इट वाज नोन एज द मध्य रेखा और मिडिल लाइन. मध्य रेखा या मिडिल लाइन, दिस वाज व्हाट वाज नोन इन इंडिया, एंड इट पास थ्रू द सिटी ऑफ उज्जैन, जो कि मध्य प्रदेश में है, which was a reputed center for astronomy over many centuries. Varaha Mihira, a famous astronomer, lived and worked there some 1500 years ago. तो 1500 साल पहले there was this concept of a middle line which was India's own meridian, right? Madhya Rekha, which was in there, which was in vogue. Indian astronomers were aware of concepts of latitude and longitude, including the need for a zero or prime meridian. The Ujjaini meridian became a reference for calculations in all Indian astronomical tests. So this is an additional information which has been put in the book, NCERT book from this particular year. तो इसको please आप note कर लीजिए. The map shows a few Indian cities close to the Ujjaini meridian. Some are very close to it, while others are a little away. That's because measuring longitude requires accurate timekeeping, which was not as precise then as it is today. So अगर आप देखेंगे कुरुक्षेत्र जो कि हरियाणा में है, दिल्ली, रोहतक अगेन हरियाणा में, then this is some place called मालवांगरा नगर, उज्जैन, महेश्वर, कोलकाता यहाँ पे दिखाई दिया है, बॉम्बे, बेंगलुरु एंड चेन्नई for a reference point, and Kanyakumari is here. So this is how the Ujjaini meridian, the Madhya Rekha, used to pass. Okay, so these are the ancient cities, this is the modern city. ये सब जो इस तरह से हैं, these are all the ancient cities. तो ये हो गया, ये अभी का मैप है. Okay, अभी का इंडिया मैप है. So this map, which has been published by the Survey of India, shows the country's outline along with parallels of latitudes and longitudes. Now इसमें अगर आप देखें तो यहां पर जो है, let's say a place near Mumbai, okay, it is close to that 20 degrees north, okay, 20 degrees north, whereas if you look at in terms of the thing, it is 70 degrees east. Okay, so latitude and longitude को आपको उस तरह से मेजर करके ध्यान में रखना पड़ेगा कि एक एक जगह कौन कौन से मेरिडियंस के कौन से लाइन के पास है in terms of being able to reference. So India's latitudes extend approximately from 8 degrees north to 37 degrees north. So latitudes north or south में रहता है ना. So since we are north of the equator, many students may have this curiosity, India कैसा पड़ता है, equator के आसपास या बहुत दूर है? So India is north of the equator, and I will show you very soon कितना दूर है. Okay, map पे दिखाऊंगा. So India is 8 degrees north to 37 degrees north. India ka from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, and longitude extends from 68 degrees east to 97 degrees east. That is from Gujarat coast to the northeastern part of India, right? So the two colors have been added. So this is how India 68, 70 है यहाँ पे, 68 से लेके 97 degrees east तक इसका longitude है. Now let's come to understanding time zone. So उससे पहले मैं आपको ये बता देता हूँ, ये दिखा देता हूँ. This is very fascinating, आपको मजा आएगा. Okay, now if you look at this particular map, and I hope it is clear because on the screen it is not very clear. Yeah, दिख रहा है, great. तो इक्वेटर यहां पर है, मालदीव्स जो कि बड़ा हॉलिडे स्पॉट है, बीच में अभी कंट्रोवर्सी भी हुआ था, दैट इज हियर, एंड दिस इज श्रीलंका, एंड दिस इज द टिप ऑफ द इंडियन कोस्ट इन सदर्न पार्ट ऑफ इंडिया. तो इंडिया की दूरी इक्वेटर से इतनी है. ओके, विच इज व्हाई यू सी द सदर्न पार्ट थोड़ा सा गर्म रहता है, नॉर्दर्न पार्ट, लेकिन जैसे जैसे आप ऊपर जाएं, कश्मीर जो कि इक्वेटर से दूर है, वहां पर ऑफ कोर्स द इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ द हिमालयाज आल्सो सर्दी ज्यादा पड़ती है, राइट? Whereas South India you really don't have much of a winter because we are also closer to the equator, right? So this is the distance between the equator and the Indian coast. So आपको एक आइडिया हो जाएगा कि हम कहां पर हैं. Okay. Now let's understand the time zones. This is again very fascinating. समझने में मजा आएगा. मुझे तो बहुत मजा आ रहा है. Now let's make the globe rotate again from west to east, and this is how our planet spins around its axis, making a full turn every 24 hours. ये तो मालूम है ना कि 24 घंटे में एक फुल टर्न मार लेता है. ओके, कहां गए बॉल? 24 घंटे में this particular thing will make a full turn, right? A full turn is 360 degrees, you know that. So this means 15 degrees per hour. 360 divided by 24, 15, right? So that's how we come to 15 degrees per hour. So let's now mark the meridians of longitude every 15 degrees. Moving eastward from the prime meridian, we get 0 degrees. If prime meridian is calculated at 0 degrees, just like the equator is, if that is 0 degrees, तो उसके आगे 15 degrees जाओ, so that means वो हो गया 1 घंटा. 30 डिग्रीज जाओ, दैट बिकम्स 2 घंटा. अगर यहां पर 12 बजे हैं तो ये 1 बज गया, 2 बज गया, 3 बज गया. 45 डिग्रीज पे, 60 डिग्रीज पे 4 बज गया. सो एवरी 15 डिग्रीज will be equal to 1 hour. So let us now mark the meridians of longitude every 15 degrees. Moving eastward from the prime meridian, we get 0, 15, 30, 45 east, etc. So it's the same as adding 1 hour of local time with each meridian. If it is 12 p.m. or noon at Greenwich, it is local time 1 p.m. at 15 degrees east, 2 p.m. at 30 degrees, which is what I just now told you. So this is how this works. तो यहाँ पे 15 डिग्रीज है, यहाँ पे ये माइनस होगा, यहाँ पर ये प्लस होगा. समझ में आ गया? Now, this is now. अब आप पूछेंगे कि अगर इंडिया का लॉन्गिट्यूड एक्सटेंड करता है 68 डिग्रीज टू 97 डिग्रीज, फ्रॉम 68 डिग्रीज, अभी जो देखा ना इंडिया का जो मैप था, I'll show it to you again. इंडिया का जो मैप था 68 डिग्रीज ईस्ट टू 97 डिग्रीज ईस्ट तक एक्सटेंड करता है. तो ये तो हो गया 15 डिग्री से ज्यादा. तो इसका मतलब कैसे है कि राजकोट का जो समय है और गुवाहाटी का समय एक कैसे हो सकता है? गुड क्वेश्चन. You need to get the answer because this can also be asked in the examination and even otherwise you should know about this. वो होता ये है, पोरबंदर जो कि गुजरात में है, right? The other is तिनसुकिया in Assam. मैंने भी गुजरात और असम का एग्जांपल लिया. So they are talking on the phone in the afternoon. The second person, that is the Assamese friend, he says that the sun has set in Assam and it is now dark. तो होता क्या है कि 5 बजे शाम को ही आसाम में अंधेरा हो सकता है. भला क्यों? Whereas it will be bright in any place in Gujarat. Because ये यहां पर actually India can have more than one time zone. लेकिन for the purposes of ease and for more comfort in terms of work efficiency, etc., India has gone in for one IST, that is Indian Standard Time. So हमारा time, even though we are in different longitude, हमने change नहीं किया है. हालांकि जो the weather in Assam at the same time as it is in Gujarat will be very, very different. इसका reason यही है. So the farmer is surprised, but it's still full daylight here. So what is the activity? So the difference in longitude between Porbandar and Tinsukia. So Porbandar will be around 70 degrees east, whereas Tinsukia will be around 90-95 degrees east. So chunki difference is almost 25 degrees approximately, which means ideally speaking, Assam, Tinsukia or Guwahati or any other place should be at least 1.5 hours ahead of this place in Gujarat, Porbandar or Rajkot or Surat. समझ में आ गया? तो यहां पर हालांकि फॉर पर्पसेस ऑफ कन्वीनियंस वी आर टेकिंग इट एज द सेम टाइम कि 4 बजे हैं तो वहां पर भी 4 बजे होंगे, लेकिन एक्चुअली यहां का जो 4 बजे है वहां का मौसम इट विल बी इक्विवेलेंट टू दैट ऑफ 5:30 in the evening approximately. So that is what is the difference. So the same method can be used to calculate the local time of any place on the earth, but it would not be convenient. That's why most countries adopt a standard time. Unless you have very big countries, इसके बारे में भी बात करेंगे. Based on a meridian passing through them, Indian Standard Time IST is 5 hours 30 minutes ahead of the local time at Greenwich. यानी कि ग्रीनविच में अगर 12 बजे हैं तो इंडिया का स्टैंडर्ड टाइम है 5.5 घंटे. ओके, तो उसको जीएमटी कहते हैं, यहां को आईएसटी कहते हैं. इंडियन स्टैंडर्ड टाइम इज कॉल्ड आईएसटी. जीएमटी, अगर आप कोई भी इंटरनेशनल इवेंट्स देखें, वर्ल्ड कप का इवेंट देखें, वर्ल्ड कप जो वेस्ट इंडीज में हो रहा था, तो वो आपको दोनों टाइम देंगे, जीएमटी, आईएसटी, बिकॉज इंडिया में ब्रॉडकास्टर्स का कितने बजे यहां पर मैच दिखाया जाएगा, एंड दे विल गिव यू द लोकल टाइम, जो कि उस समय पर गयाना, बारबाडोस, ट्रिनिडाड एंड टोबैगो वगैरह में मैच उस समय पर किस समय पर खेले जा रहे थे. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द लास्ट वर्ल्ड कप, 2024 वर्ल्ड कप जो इंडिया जीता था, राइट. सो इट विल गिव यू 3 टाइम्स, जीएमटी, आईएसटी एंड द लोकल टाइम, जब मैच वहां पर शुरू होगा. सो दैट्स हाउ दिस थिंग. सो नाउ यू विल बी एबल टू आंसर दिस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन. So all these standard times are organized in time zones which broadly follow the zones of 15 degrees in the graph. So I hope you have now understood. 15 डिग्री लेते रहो, एक एक घंटा बढ़ाते रहो. 15 डिग्री लेते रहो, एक एक घंटा घटाते रहो. Eastern direction, western direction. So this is because they have to respect each country's standard time. Therefore they follow international borders. तो उस हिसाब से, you know, in a sense, so that हर country का एक ही time zone हो. हालांकि as I said, it's not always the case, and I will talk about it now. Now, if this you look at the world map, now a country like USA is much bigger than India in size. A country like Russia, you see कितने time zones में जाता है, यहां से लेकर यहां तक है. So obviously it cannot fit into one particular time zone. So there they have different kind of time zones. Some countries like Russia, Canada, or the USA are too large to have a single time zone. The USA has 6 time zones. Russia has 11 time zones, which means traveling across Russia from east to west, you will need to readjust your watch 10 times to align with the local time. Fascinating, no? कि अगर आप USA में भी, अगर आप California, which is on the western coast, if you are flying to the east coast, Washington or New York, you will have to adjust the time because वहां पर भी 6 डिफरेंट टाइम जोन्स हैं. तो अगर आप बीच में आ रहे हैं, ओहायो में, कोलंबस में लैंड कर रहे हैं या शिकागो में लैंड कर रहे हैं, वहां पर आपको थोड़ा काम है, तो वहां पर आपको अपनी वॉच को एडजस्ट करना पड़ेगा. और उसके बाद शिकागो टू वॉशिंगटन यू आर टेकिंग ए फ्लाइट, अगेन यू विल हैव टू एडजस्ट द टाइम बिकॉज यू हैव 6 टाइम जोन्स बिटवीन द वेस्ट कोस्ट एंड द ईस्ट कोस्ट ऑफ यूएसए. Okay, Russia will be even more. There are 11 time zones. Similarly, the globe in figure 1.9 centered on India shows standard times with reference respect to GMT for a few countries. So when prime meridian was fixed at Greenwich, the opposite line, अगर prime meridian ये है, अगर प्राइम मेरिडियन यहां पर है, तो उसके ऑपोजिट दूसरी तरफ जो वो लाइन है ना, दैट इज कॉल्ड द इंटरनेशनल डेट लाइन. प्राइम मेरिडियन जहां पर है, उसके बिल्कुल ऑपोजिट लाइन को इंटरनेशनल डेट लाइन कहते हैं. सो दैट इज एग्जैक्टली 180 डिग्रीज, ऑलमोस्ट 180 डिग्रीज लॉन्गिट्यूड फ्रॉम द प्राइम मेरिडियन. सो प्राइम मेरिडियन से 180 डिग्रीज जाएंगे, दैट वी विल कम टू द इंटरनेशनल डेट लाइन. नाउ ये इंटरनेशनल डेट लाइन कहां पर है? ओके, ये आपको मैं दिखाता हूं. दिस वेरी फैसिनेटिंग. नाउ जहां पर ये यूएसए का एंड होता है अलास्का के अराउंड, और यहां पर जो जापान वगैरह का शुरू होता है, उसके बीच में ये इंटरनेशनल डेट लाइन है. ओके, विच इज नॉट अ स्ट्रेट लाइन लाइक द प्राइम मेरिडियन और द इक्वेटर, बट थोड़ा सा आगे पीछे है, उसका कारण मैं भी बताऊंगा. सो दिस इज नाउ द इंटरनेशनल डेट लाइन. सो ये ऑस्ट्रेलिया हो गया, और यहां पर ये दूसरा ओशियन या अब दूसरी तरफ का आ गया. ओके, द पैसिफिक ओशियन. So as you can see the map, the plus 12 and the minus 12 time zones touch each other at this line. If you cross it by ship or plane, you need to change the date. Okay, आप एक दिन आगे जाएंगे in your watch. If you cross it, ये हो गया ग्रीनविच के हिसाब से. इंडिया जैसे बोला 5.5 घंटे आगे है, पाकिस्तान 5 घंटे आगे है. So पाकिस्तान से हम आधा घंटा आगे हैं, राइट? बांग्लादेश 6.5 घंटे, नहीं बांग्लादेश नहीं, ये तो बर्मा 6.5 घंटा आगे है. ऑस्ट्रेलिया इज 7 घंटे आगे फ्रॉम द ग्रीनविच टाइम. नाउ so if you are traveling eastwards, that is if you are traveling from Russia to Japan, from Moscow to Tokyo, you subtract a day, that is from Monday to Sunday. If you cross it traveling westwards, that is if you are coming westwards, you add a day from Sunday to Monday. We said that the international date line is approximately at 180 degrees longitude as it deviates in places to avoid dividing some countries into two different dates. Now इसमें देखो ये हो गया, अब इसका मैं explanation यहाँ पे मैं I have written. So the international date line, which is known as the IDL, is drawn in a zigzag manner to avoid splitting countries and territories into different calendar days. This helps maintain the consistency of timekeeping within a country or region. इसका आप screenshot ले सकते हैं. For example, it moves west to keep the Aleutian, which are part of Alaska, on the same day as the rest of USA. This line avoids splitting culturally or economically linked regions. This ensures that communities with strong ties and interactions share the same calendar day. So ये reason है कि why it is in a zigzag kind of manner. ये जो आपने देखा ना, सॉरी यहाँ पे नहीं, इससे पहले जो देखा था, ये इस तरह से zigzag manner में क्यों है, इसका कारण यहां पर मैंने इस नोट में दिया है. ओके, सो ये हो गया जहां तक इंटरनेशनल डेट लाइन का सवाल है. सो मैप्स आर यूजफुल. सो दिस इज द रिकैप. मैप्स आर यूजफुल, which is what are the two lines, the prime meridian and the equator, the latitude and the longitude, the international date line, and how to measure time. This is what we have learned in this particular chapter. What is this estuary? Estuary is a place where the river meets the sea. Now river जहां पर जाके, जैसे कावेरी नदी है, जाके इंडियन बे ऑफ बंगाल में मिलती है, राइट? सो द प्लेस वेयर इट मीट्स, इट्स जनरली वहां पर काफी सारे मैनग्रोव्स एंड एस्टुअरीज रहते हैं. दैट्स अ प्लेस वेयर द रिवर, इट्स कॉल्ड द mouth of the river. So that's what it is called. So with this we come to this end of the fascinating chapter, which is to talking about locating places on the earth on the map. I hope आपको समझ में आया, कुछ नया सीखने को मिला, मजा भी आया. Any doubts, please ask me in the comment section and I'll be more than happy to reply to you. Okay, we will look at question and answers separately in another video. थोड़ा पहले फोकस कर लेते हैं on understanding, उसके बाद we will attack this thing. but मैंने काफी हद तक किस तरह के क्वेश्चंस आएंगे उन सब के बारे में बता दिया है. सो यू शुड नॉट रियली हैव मच ऑफ अ प्रॉब्लम आउट देयर. टाटा, बाय बाय, थैंक यू वेरी मच, नमस्कार.